Hi, welcome to the Afrocentric Woman. Oh my gosh, y'all, I'm so tired. I'm super, super tired. Today has been one of those days of just like busyness. I didn't even know what today was. I was like, I thought it was Tuesday, it's Wednesday. Just trying to do so much and it's hard. And in the midst of like my sleepiness and tiredness, because I worked out pretty hard at the gym yesterday. I thought like I love my channel. I'm just gonna keep it up. And I love other channels with helpful messages to women. Um, because you definitely want to stack all the odds in your favors of having if you want children, you want to stack all of the odds in your favor that your partner is going to be there with you to co-parent. I guess really nobody can just, determine if a relationship is going to last or not. Um, I guess the divorce rate is 50%, so you just never know. But it's not even about having a relationship. It's about when you have a child with someone that they actually um be a parent and actually be involved, not just like weekend pick up and play with them a little bit, not just call them randomly on the phone and not just send money or to not send money, but to actually be there to parent them. I mean, especially for the first 7 years, it's really, really challenging. I mean, and even from me talking to other mothers, they tell me that, hi, kissed by dark skin hypergamy. Hi, girl, hi. I don't know if you have children, sis. Do you have children? Um, but yeah, like it's not about that, but it's like from 0 to 7, it's really difficult. And from when I was talking to other moms, they tell me like little is hard, and then teenage years is really, really hard. So I can't wait till I get to that like 7 to like 12 age where I heard it's a little bit easier. But then again, you have another difficult period of time once they become teenagers. So right now I'm in the little kid stage, and it's just like, dealing with tantrums, and they ask you 1,000 questions, and you're just like you're training them to be a good human, right? Like you're cultivating them to be good humans. And so you repeat the same messages over and over and over and over again until you're blue in the face, and it's tiring. And so I'm just like, I just needed to drink my kombucha and like sit down for a little bit. And she's like, well, I want to ride my scooter. And it's like hot as hell outside. And I already told, like yesterday, I didn't feel like going outside because she wanted to ride her bike. So I already said no yesterday. So I feel like I need to say yes today to her riding her scooter. So I'm going to take her, but I'm tired. Like I just, oh God. I mean, if you look up, like, Dusty is a compliment for her father. Like he's Dusty would be an upgrade as to what he is. Dusty would be an upgrade. It really and truly would. And I remember like before, I mean, I stopped doing like I used to like be in these fertility groups. Um yeah, I'd already had my child by then, but I used to like be in these fertility groups like marketing health products and stuff. And I would see these mostly black women, honestly. I would see these black women like in their like late 30s to like mid 40s, and they're like like planning on being single parents. And I'm like, girl, you might want to think about that because it's not what you think it is. And I think it's hard to know until you're actually in it. I raised children until 2.5 years ago. Oh, okay. Awesome sauce. But yeah, it's hard to explain until you are actually a single parent, and especially when you have a single parent, um, especially when you have a single parent of a non-existent father who's not participating with you. It's always a catch-22, the situation that I'm in, because could I pawn my child off on the other side of the family? I probably could a little bit, but would she come back alive? I don't know. And would she come back, like, unharmed? I doubt it. Like, I can't guarantee that she wouldn't be something bad wouldn't happen just because of just the dysfunction over on that side of the family. So, I just you know, you can look at I have a video on here called, Family Therapist with a Narcissist, so if you're interested to know how that went, you can listen to that video. I also have videos on here about, supporting your children through having, narcissistic parents, a narcissistic absentee father, because it's very challenging, and I think that's the very hard part, for moms. I mean, I have seen mothers turning their children over, even though they know the dad is irresponsible, even though they know the dad is, abusive, even if it's just neglectful. But they'll do it anyway because they just kind of feel like that's what they should do. And I mean, for me, I kind of feel like while I am tired and while I would like to drop her off somewhere, I feel like this is my burden to carry. Like I made the choice. Um, I chose the trash bag. You know what I'm saying? Due to a plethora of reasons. I'm the one who chose the trash bag. So therefore, now I've chosen to protect my daughter. I mean, I must protect her. And so that means that I just can't leave her in any environment. Now, I have come to peace to know that I can't be everywhere all the time and I can't like be super anxious and let anxiety overtake me. I can't do that, but at the same time, if I knowingly know that people don't have my child's interest at heart, if I know that there's a family that I mean, I think this is pretty prevalent in Black families, like, people just let pedophiles just roam around like like it's nothing, like, people in Black families let pedophiles come to Thanksgiving, they let pedophiles come to family reunions, they let pedophiles sit at the table, and for me, it's disgusting to me. It really, really is that you knowingly know this person has a history of abusing children and you just let them roam around the family with access to children. Like, what does it take to get kicked out of the family? Like, what would it take? I just feel like if you violate a child, I just think that you should just live up underneath the jail. That's how I feel about it. That's how I feel about it. I think if you violate a child, you should be up underneath the jail. And even the legal system is very lenient against pedophiles. Like, there's sometimes that you can go steal a pack of gum at Walmart and get more time than if you are inappropriate with a child. And I think that that's a huge systemic issue in this country with the laws that are not protecting children. And I think from a family perspective, if we can't agree on that, then I can't leave my child with you. Period. Period, point blank. Like, I just can't. She said Oprah's father did that. Yeah, a lot of Black families do. And Kishbar says it's exhausting. I raised my siblings, my nieces, nephews, great niece up until 2.5 years ago. I had her from 6 months till 8 years old, and my narcissistic mom snatched her from me to kill me. Yeah, sis. You know what, dark skin, kissed by dark skin hypergamy? I was just talking to a sister today. You know what a phrase that I repeat to a lot of Black women through the work that I do? Um, I have to tell them a lot of times that a lot of them just don't have healthy boundaries. And I have to let them know that now that they have children, they have to put up those healthy boundaries because when you have a family, um, God, I really like I'm grappling with the word Blackistan because I really I feel uncomfortable saying Blackistan. But when you have a family that's really entrenched in toxic dynamics, I'll say that, and you have one foot in and you have one foot out. One thing that I have to tell Black women over and over again when they do get a partner that is halfway decent or that's a good man and he's trying to help her, a lot of times Black women, they're so what I call ultra independent, they will not even let him help her. And I told her, I said, let him in, let him help you, because your family is draining you and let him deal with it. Like, if they need money, tell them to ask your husband so that he can tell them no. Like, let him be the bad guy. You don't even have to go through that conflict. You don't even have to go through that. But, you know, her sister is abusing I mean, it's either one or two things or both. Either the sister is using drugs and has a psychology issue, or both. It's one or the other, or it's both. But either way, I don't think that those children are going to be able to, I think that those children are going to be taken from her custody. I said, regardless, you need to be thinking about, possibly getting your nieces, like, if they end up going into foster care, it's sometimes it's like you don't want to plan for the worst, but I just think that I like to deal in reality. And if your sister is abusing drugs, I mean, it makes sense to think about worst case scenario. Worst case scenario, she does not go to rehab. She does not work a plan. She does not stay stable. Are you willing to take those kids? And it's like, no, I mean, no pressure either. You can decide whatever you want to do. Either you want to take those children or you don't want to take those children. And you don't have to. It's only if you want to. But if you want to get those children, then I would start preparing mentally, I would start preparing financially, and I would start preparing legally. Because I just think there's so many times in Black communities where we don't get the proper paperwork. We don't adopt children who need to be adopted. We don't get people to sign over their rights because, like, you would be surprised. Like, I have one of my nieces, I mean, not one of my nieces, one of my cousins. Like, she got raised by my other aunt because her mom was on drugs, and like, she lived with me for a little while, she lived with my grandmother for a little while, but she mostly stayed with my aunt. And then it came to this point where it was like one of my cousins was like, why don't you just formally adopt her? Because it was like every time they changed schools, it was a problem. Every time she needed to get her health care was a problem. Like, you run into all these issues when you have a child that you don't have custodian, you're not like their legal guardian. You know what I'm saying? When you don't have the paperwork, you run into all kinds of challenges. And, like, she wouldn't do it. She would not adopt her. And I think that my cousin felt a sense of rejection, like, I don't have a mom. Like, my aunt is kind of my mom, but not my mom. And, like, my mom is kind of my mom, but she's like on the streets. She's not really my mom. So I think that really affected her long term, anyway, there's other stuff, but we don't really get our paperwork in order. So I was telling her, be thinking about that because that may very well be on the horizon. As far as the other situations with your family, you have some legal things that you need to, that you have to work out. You have to work those things out because um you have to work those things out because you don't want to be in a situation where your family is just draining you. You know, those people are not thinking about, do you have a roof over your head? What are you going to be eating for dinner? They're not thinking about, how is it going with your family? They don't care. They're just like bottomless pits of needing, 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 needing. And they ask and they use and they don't even think twice about it. They don't even think twice about it. So the only person that can protect you, Black woman, is you. You're the only one who can say no and actually put up the barrier and know what you're gonna do and what you're not gonna do. And I don't and like across the board, I don't feel like sharing genetic like background gives anybody the right to disrespect you. So your mama don't need to be talking to you crazy, your daddy don't need to be talking to you crazy, your cousins them don't need to be talking to you crazy. Your siblings don't need to be talking to you crazy. Like, I'll cut anybody. Like, girl, I'm trying to tell you. I don't I don't act disrespectfully. I don't disrespect others, and therefore I don't tolerate disrespect either. And my mom has learned that recently. I'm not here for the bullshit, sis. But as far as single mothering goes, like, do not have children. Do not have children for other people. Like, I have people who are like, "Oh, my mom really wants a grandchild." I'm like, "Girl, so did my mom, and she don't even help me." She was always shaming me because I did have my daughter what you would call late, later in life. And she would always shame me like, "Oh, you don't have any kids. Why don't you have any? I want a grandbaby. I want a real grandbaby." Now, keep in mind, my brother has kids, but she doesn't consider them fully her grandkids because they're from her son, which is a weird weirdo thing that I hear some baby boomer moms say. But she's like, I want to be a real grandmother. I need you to have kids. And she's AWOL. All this time later, like, once I realized my mom was on that pick me shit the last time, it has to be over 6 months now, because I remember really, like, almost completely stopped talking to her. Like, it probably had to been like October of like last year, because I know she sent me a message for New Year's, and she's like, "I know you're not talking to me, but um but I just want to start the new year off by just sending you a message and tell you I love." I'm like, "Girl, if you don't get off my line like with this dumb shit." So she sent that, and I was like, "Happy New Year." I'm like, "Girl, I'm not about to do this with you. I'm not about to do this with you." And so really, probably like she broke up with her dusty ass Tyrone, and then she started trying to reach out to me, and I was like, "Okay, so you didn't broke up with your dusty, or he didn't left your ass high and dry, and now you want to try to reach out to me, girl. I'm over you. I know you gave birth to me, and I do appreciate that, but I'm over you." And I think that that's another big thing with women. Like, we feel like we owe our moms all this shit, and it's like, you really don't, though. You really don't. Especially if your mother has been a toxic influence in your life, you don't owe them anything. Like, you don't. And like, I'm for honestly, like, this is the time of my life right now that I should be making as much money as I possibly can. There have been so many opportunities that I cannot take advantage of because my mother will not help me with my child, because she is so busy chasing Tyrone's in her 60s. Because apparently mammies and pygmishas do not learn their lesson. They just don't. I messed up and told her, like, at the time, like a long time ago, like a couple years ago, I had this arbitrary number of like 80,000. I was like, I won't date a guy who doesn't make at least 80,000. Now, of course, that has since gone up. And that has since gone up. But that was like me starting out. Like, okay, like, that's where I'm starting, 80,000. My mom looked at me like I had 8 heads on my head. Like, she looked at me like, who the fuck are you to say that? Like, that's how she looked at me. And so that was the first and the last time, I have had any conversations with her about my dating preferences, because it's like, I'm not going to sit up here and talk to you about my dating preferences because you don't get it. You're a pick-me-sha, you're a mammy. You go to the bottom of the barrel and fish out the dustiest, most narcissistic fucking guys. And it's crazy because my mom is the same person that she was 30 years ago. Like, she's the exact same person. Absolutely no growth, no development, nothing. And I used to think it was my responsibility to enlighten her. And like, I've seen so many women like post and they think it's funny. Like, they'll post these memes and they'll be like, "Oh, my mom, I'm the adult in the relationship now," or like, "My mom, be wilding out and I'm trying to get her together." And it's like, we laugh about it, but honestly, it's not funny. It's not funny because we are the child. Like, no matter how old you get, you're still the child. You're still supposed to be the child in the dynamic. And honestly, it's not fair that your parent is relying on you for so much emotional support. It's not fair. It's not fair. Like, they're supposed to be the ones providing emotional support to you. They're supposed to be the one who has wisdom. My mom done got no damn wisdom, really? Not about relationships. I'm always like telling her like about being in healthy relationships, like communicating what the fuck you have to say. Like, stop. Like, my mom is passive aggressive and nice, nasty and gossiping. And it's like, why are you doing all that? If you don't like Karen, just stop fucking with her. Why are you going over there just to have an attitude? Like, what are you doing? But, honestly, I just had to release that job description because it's not my job. I have a whole child. I have an entire child that requires emotional support. She requires me to help her learn how to regulate her own emotions. I have to teach her, I have to mold her, I have to guide her. There's certain things that I'm instilling in her, and that is my duty. Like, it's my obligation to get her to adulthood in one piece, whole and happy. That's my job. My job is not to raise my mother. So I had to let that shit the fuck go. Like, you are not my job. Like, you don't want to help yourself. You want to wallow in sorrow. You want to just be self-loathing. You want to run behind Dusties. You want to do stupid shit. You don't want to help yourself. That's fine. But I'm not going to be bothered with it. So this is supposed to be the time that I'm making the most money in my life. I can't do as many opportunities because you don't help me. So the way I've reconciled in my mind is, when she gets old, when she gets too old, I'm gonna do the bare fucking minimum. Like, I'm gonna put your ass in a home. I don't give a shit. I'm not gonna like go out of my way. I'm not gonna do anything that discomforts myself. I'm not gonna, if my like husband doesn't want you living there, you will not live in my house. I'm not gonna inconvenience myself for you at all, because right now I'm taking note. And right now is when I could have probably had double the money I have now if I had proper support. If I didn't spend so much money on childcare, nannies, you know what I'm saying, driving so far, doing all of these things, I would probably have double the money that I have now, which means maybe I would have been able to afford an upgraded senior facility for you, or maybe I would have been able to afford more things. But since you are selfish right now when I need you, I'm the type of person that I remember shit. A lot of people get amnesia, like everybody's forgotten about Godfrey. I will never forget. Like, you're dead. Like, you're dead to me now, and 10 years from now, I'm going to remember that I still don't fuck with you, Godfrey. You know what I'm saying? I'm that type of person. I'm the type of person where, like, everybody is over Doja Cat, and they're like, oh, Doja Cat comes out with new music. Everybody just forgot that she went on this whole like anti-Black woman tirade and fraternizing with these like racist people, and she hates herself and all this. Like, I will never forget. Like, I still don't fuck with you, Doja Cat. I know it's been 2 years or a year, but I don't fuck with you. Like, when I make a decision about who I fuck with and who I don't move on that. Like, could some of these colorist people redeem themselves? Maybe, but you would have to write a heavy check to Black women. Like, you need to write a check to like a Black women's organization. You need to like go on a whole hobo tour, like apologizing to Black women. Like, you need to hire Black women. Like, if a colorist like spent a year trying to redeem themselves, and they like spent over $1 million trying to like support Black women initiatives, maybe I would forgive you. Maybe I would give you a second chance. Maybe. But you just posting Twitter, oh my bad, I'm sorry, that's not good enough for me. Like, that's not gonna cut it. Like, I'm that too. I'm just that type of person. Maybe it's the whole, when they show you who they are, believe them the first time. Maybe that's what it is. But that's just the type of person I am. So I'm taking notes. Like, mom, you don't want to help me. I need help. Like, I'm trying to grow my business. I have all these opportunities, and you don't help me. So okay, I can't make you. So I'll remember this. I'm keeping notes. I'm taking tabs. You know what I'm saying? Hey, peace, Rodney. You enjoy my take on things. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for everybody that came through. I appreciate you. Hey, Mocha Mommy. Hey, Rose Ezzy. or ease. You'll have to tell me how to pronounce that. I cut off anyone, then you gave me the scissors. If I cut anyone, then you get, yeah, it's kissed by dark skin hypergamy. You have to. You really, really do. You have to. Like, it's not that many people in my family that I really talk to. It's very few people. It's like I just talk to the people that I like. I have like a couple of cousins that I talk to, my aunt, which, I've talked to you guys in the past about um how me and my brother have survived a lot of foolishness. And I really think that we are not like super, super crazy because of my aunt. Like, God blessed me with an aunt. And I mean, and like another aunt too, but like one in particular who was emotionally available and would give me the best hugs, and she would cook for me, and she would always tell me I was beautiful. And I still have a great relationship with her to this day. And she actually has a better relationship with my daughter than my own mother. So she's like kind of like my second mother, you know? She's kind of like my second mother, and she's kind of like my daughter's second grandmother. Really, like, honestly, as far as like interaction is concerned, my daughter interacts with her way more than my own mother. My mother is has built a prison for her, a personalized prison for herself of sorrow and misery and apathy and victimhood. And that's what me and my brother talk about. Like, my mom is unable to not be a victim. She's not able to, like, she's just unable. She's just, that's all she knows to be, is just a victim. And I'm just like, I'm not easily manipulatable. Like, I think once you like really learn about cluster B, you learn about narcissism, you learn about what's the other one? Not bipolar, borderline. Once you really learn about those personality types, you become immune to being manipulated by them. Like, you look at them and you see them trying to manipulate you, and you're just watching their lips move, and you're like, so okay, what do you want? And you said all that to say, oh, I'm so sad about that. Okay, well, you gotta be sad. I'm sorry, I'm sorry you feel that way, but girl, you are not my responsibility. You a whole 60 something years old, ma'am. Like, I need for you to help yourself. And it's crazy because like we grew up in Kojic. Um, we grew up Kojic, so I feel like my family has a real like disdain for therapy. Like, they look down on it. But it's like, you mofos, y'all need therapy yesterday. Y'all need therapy, like, but they feel like, I don't know, it's like a Kojic thing, like maybe Southern Baptists are the same way, I don't know, but they really feel like you can go to the Lord about everything, like go, like, put your name on the prayer board. I mean, there's just so many people, like even in my family, that have suffered through addiction, and it's like they need rehab, but they would put their, like, I mean, faithfully. I remember my grandmother putting my aunt's name on the prayer board for like faithfully for like years, like putting her name on the prayer board, or sending up like when you would like testify and stuff like that, or like asking, like doing these revivals, and she would pray for my aunt, and it was like my aunt needed rehab. Like, what the hell? Like, she doesn't need, like, I'm sure the prayer doesn't hurt, but what they really needed was rehab. Like, what they really need is like actual services. You know what I'm saying? I used to be loyal to the wrong people. I'm an empath. I'm extremely loyal, so I have to be careful with who I attach myself to. You know, maybe we can talk about this whole empath archetype one day, because I do have my thoughts about that, and I think that it really sets Black women up for a lot of um difficulties. That particular archetype. Part of the reason why I've really like gotten out of, like, I used to be a little bit more involved with like the narcissistic abuse awareness community. And one of the reasons why I kind of just veered off and started doing my own thing is because First of all, it's kind of become ultra Christian, and it's like I like Christians who are more open to a variety of people. So they really kind of appeal to a broad audience because, like, I mean, I remember like one of my godmothers back in the day, like, she wasn't necessarily Christian, but she knew the Bible really, really well. She knew the Bible really, really well. And so she, was like, when she would be teaching me different things, she would, ask me to bring my Bible. And I had that Bible my grandmother gave me. So I have that Bible, but it was like she knows the information, but it's not like overbearing. You know what I'm saying? And it's like it can still appeal to a variety of people, but it's like the narcissistic abuse community just started like just becoming like a sermon, like a Christian thing. And it's like it's a lot of I feel barriers to actually getting through to things because these people hold on to the idea that they don't okay, let me just tell they don't want to accept the fact that narcissism is a mental disorder. It is a developmental disorder. So they don't want to accept the fact that children need a few things to be healthy. They need a few things to be healthy. They need consistency, they need a safe environment, they need to be free of abuse, they need to have their ego appropriately uh attended to. So you don't want to make them not aware that they're human and that they make mistakes, but you don't want to berate them either. So you really have to get it right. That's why parenting is so hard because you want to build your child up, but you also want like if your child doesn't make an A, like, you have to explain to them, like, "Baby, sometimes you don't make A's. Like, sometimes you have to work harder. You're not gonna be great in every subject, but you're really good at math. I know you didn't do good in that, but, like, think about your math and how great you are at that." Like, that's what it takes to be a good parent. And it's not about like, "Oh, you didn't make all A's and, like, you're trash, like, that's not acceptable." Or you don't wanna also say, "Oh, whatever, the teacher's stupid, she doesn't know how to grade papers, you're the smartest person in the world," because either one creates a narcissistic person. Either one creates a narcissistic person. And so I know people who raise their kids like that. I know people who, like, you know, my child will come home and be like, "Oh, the kids laughed at me today because my knees were ashy or something like that." And I'm like, okay, well go like who wasn't laughing at you? Who laughed at you and who didn't laugh at you? Well, Timmy and Johnny were laughing, but Layla and Maria, they didn't care. I said, well, whoever was laughing at you, that's not is that do you think that that's what good friends do to one another? No, mommy. Okay, well then you need to go over there and hang out with Aliyah and Maria because they're supporting you. And so working through that whole scenario. And when you have little kids, you have to do it over and over and over and over and over again, and you get tired. But that's the like hard work of being a mom, being a parent. But you don't sit up there and be like, "Oh, well, those kids are just jealous of you because you're yeah, they're all jealous of you." Like that's like the number one way that like it's like a narcissistic parent. If that parent is telling the child like everybody's jealous of them, or if they get in trouble, oh, the teacher doesn't know what they're doing, or I can't like she can't do her job because the child is not performing in some area. Anyway, y'all, I didn't lost my train of thought. But what I'm saying is that it's important to create a well-balanced little human being. That's basically what I'm trying to say. It's hard. It's really, really hard. And so, okay, I know what I was saying. I was talking about healthy children. So they need consistency, they need rules, they need consequences, they need rewards, they need a healthy ego, they need a self-esteem building, they need to know who they are, they need to learn how to love themselves, they need to learn how to sit with emotions, they need to learn how to express themselves. They need love, they need a healthy attachment style. So when they need support, that you're available to give them hugs. Like I know usually when my child is acting a fool or she's like doing like I can just like give her a hug and she will like run off and she's fine, right? So being available for that nurturing and building them up. And People in the narcissistic community who are super Christian, they just don't want to accept the fact that these adults that are running around underdeveloped, they didn't get what they needed when they needed to get it. They were raised in very hostile, volatile situations that basically fuck them up. And we see that, with the collective of Black males. Like, we live in a Black male worshiping community that doesn't require our males to produce anything to get a reward. So what do you think that's going to breed? A lot of narcissistic guys. They never have to earn anything. They feel entitled. They don't have to earn anything. They just feel like, oh, I showed up and I have a penis, so that's enough. And once they get out into the real world, once they get out into the real world, they realize that that's not enough, and they just become bitter and angry about it. So it's just like they just don't want to accept that. They think that like narcissism is like some type of demonic possession, and that they can like be redeemed if they would just accept Jesus. There's plenty of people who have accepted Jesus and who are still narcissists. You know what I mean? Like, accepting Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior is not a deliverance from narcissism. And that's why I just don't fool with it, because it's like a moot point. We can't even agree with what is. You guys want to disregard the research and the studies that have been done as to how people develop narcissistic traits, how people end up on the cluster B spectrum. You guys just don't want to accept that. So that's why I just had to distance myself. Religion is a joke. Yeah. Check out my sister. Check out my sister, the African Humanist. Check out her site. She has a page about examining religion, Christianity to be exact. So check it out. Narcs take the Bible and twist it and use it as a weapon, a badge. Oh crap, I lost your message. Where is it? Okay, I didn't see. I don't know where that. My mother landed me into mental hospital due to my depression. That, okay, she is a mammy. Her sons can do no wrong. However, I had to be subservient in order to get a pat on the head. Yeah, kissed by dark skin. I prior programming. You're not alone. There's a lot of toxicity, and it's like, I know it's hard because I know a lot of people in our space, we want to focus on the absentee fathers a lot, and we feel like, oh, the single mother did the best that she could, and like we shouldn't be so hard on her. She did the best that she could, and it's like, yeah, but oftentimes their best wasn't good enough. And I just think we have to be honest with that. We have to be honest with that. And if we're really going to heal and level up, we cannot ignore if you had a toxic ass mother, because they have a huge impact on us, and we just can't ignore that. Excuse me, I was drinking my kombucha. But yeah, since I pray for your continued healing, I just want you to know that you're not alone, because we're in this together. Like, we're all trying to unpack and, undo what was done and kind of pour into ourselves what we should have gotten from the beginning. And I think for me, that was the real game changer. Being on lockdown in 2020 with the pandemic, it really like caused me to have to sit down and start running around and, get back to cooking, journaling, reading. And I just got all these downloads. I got all these like spiritual and mental downloads. And I like look back at different childhood trauma experiences and like saw them from a different angle, and really like went heavy into my inner child work, and really like just started to do the heavy lifting off of that, and like really pouring into myself what I needed to do to heal. And it's like, I've been thinking about doing a video on um what it takes, because it does take a lot of courage. This isn't easy. It would be easy to just repeat all the same things that your mom did. That's actually the easier way out. Rodney says it takes a long time to understand that as a man, because part of our identity as men is measured in sexual prowess, and we carry that. Not saying that narrative is correct, but a lot of young men learn from ignorant older men. Yeah, males. I would call them males, Rodney. It's true. It's really, really true. It's like a vicious cycle. It's a vicious cycle. And that's why so many people distance themselves from the collective of Black males because, they feel like once their children, especially their boys, are turned over to the collective, they come back with all kinds of horrible traits and bad attitudes and, like the wrong goal, like they're not oriented on the right thing. They're not oriented on the right thing. It's like that's a huge issue. But it's hard. I think it's hard. It takes more courage. I feel like it takes more courage as a man or a woman to confront your past than it does to numb the pain with sex or drugs or alcohol. Sex, drugs, and alcohol is the easy way out. Sex, drugs, and alcohol is the easy way out. Trust me, if I told you my life, you will wonder why I'm not strung out on the streets. I have every excuse. I do. I have every excuse. Y'all know when y'all be watching Intervention and them people be telling you their story like, oh, this happened and that happened, and then I started using drugs. I'm trying to tell y'all I could be on there too. On a circle with my family intervening on me. Why do I choose a different route? Why? Why? I think I have a high tolerance for pain. I think I do. I told one therapist that and she didn't think it was a good thing, but I mean, whatever, girl. I have a high tolerance for pain. I do. I can have a flashback of a horrible memory and I can just sit with it and feel the pain. It doesn't mean I have to lash out at people. It doesn't mean I have to get drunk. I don't have to go and sleep with anybody. I don't have to go gamble. I don't have to get high. I don't have to inject anything into my body. I can sit with the idea and the memory and just sit with it. And I won't have a nervous break. That takes a lot of strength. You know that? It takes a lot of strength. And that's why I say I have a high tolerance for pain. I think I do. I think I have a high tolerance for pain. Now, I don't choose like now, like I wouldn't choose a painful situation. So I'll be like, oh, this guy, abuses me. He treats me bad, but I can tolerate it. No, 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 no. I can tolerate the pain that I didn't have a choice for. You see what I'm saying? Pain that was inflicted on me that I didn't have a choice because I was too small to defend myself. That's the type of pain I'm talking about. I can handle that. I can handle it and still be pretty much functional in life. I would say I'm I mean, like, I'm doing my thing. I'm doing my thing. I'm functional. I'm not like hurting anybody or being hurt. So that's a plus. But I know a lot of people cannot face pain. Like they just can't. And it's like you can even go back to some of my comments where I'm talking about emotional topics or whatever. Like this channel isn't even for dusty guys, but they just feel the need to comment on my channel or whatever. And they'll be like, oh, show me on the thing where somebody hurt you, or they try to make fun of the fact that I'm talking about emotions. I'm talking about reparenting. I'm talking about healing trauma and stuff like that. And they're like, oh, that's childish. Why would you sit up there and talk about inner child work or, your parent, your upbringing? Like, why don't you just grow up? This is the thing. You shut down a part of yourself when you have trauma as a child. I mean, you have the ability to shut all of that out. You can kind of shut down all of that, because the thing about emotions is that emotions are not um you can't choose which emotions you want to have access to. Either you have access to all of them or you have access to none of them. You either have access to all of them or you have access to none of them. So sometimes when people have trauma as a young person, and they start to shut down their emotional availability because they are in unsafe environments. They can't rely on people. They learn very toxic coping mechanisms to their environment, like sociopathy and narcissism and things like that. They start to learn these negative coping strategies. So these people can't really feel joy. They don't feel love. They don't feel compassion. They don't feel empathy. They don't feel gratitude. They can't because they don't want to feel grief. They don't want to feel disappointment. They don't want to feel abandonment. They don't want to feel pain. They don't want to feel sorrow. They don't want to feel sadness. You see? And so they bury it deep down and they think that, okay, like, okay, this is how I'm going to survive this environment. I'm going to bury all this emotional access. It's like they put it, it's like they dig a well and they put all the emotions in the well and they cover it up. So that's why they can talk to you so recklessly without any regards as to how you feel. That's why they're able to steal and kill and pillage you. That's how they're able to leave their babies. They have no emotional connection to their children. They can just boop, drop a kid and they feel no attachment. The reason why they don't feel attachment to their children because they're not even attached to their damn self. You see what I'm saying? They're not attached to themselves. Rodney says we might have been strung out on the same block. I hear you, bro. People should research the Bible scriptures and not so much religion. Yeah, that's what I was talking about early. Kissed by dark skin, hypergamy. Okay, and I'm glad you're enjoying the information, Rose. So yeah, y'all. That's what happens. They bury it down. I can tell you a little quick story. So there was this guy I was talking to for a while. I don't know why. Me and Ghanaian guys, we do not get along. Me and Ghanaian guys don't get along. So he was from Ghana, and we were talking for a while, and he was telling me this story about his brother was killed when he was a kid, like a young kid, and his brother was like his best friend. And I was like, so what happened? Like, did you go to counseling, grief counseling, or like what? He was like, no, I just went to school like the next day or whatever. I was like, what? What? And then his dad, okay, so his mom took him from, his mom left the States and went to Ghana. So basically, his mom abandoned him. And then his dad was here, but he pretty much raised himself. So his dad was like out doing whatever, you know how they be doing, like probably had like 2, 3 families, right? Doing whatever. So the dad kind of like low key abandoned him too. And then he got sent to boarding school. So it's like, who raised you? You raised yourself. You shouldn't have had to do that. But see, I couldn't even like it was so painful. My revelations and my like reflecting what you're telling me. I'm telling you, you shouldn't have had to raise yourself. Your mother left you. She left the country. Your father left the house. You were sent to boarding school. And you never received grief counseling when your brother died. And he was just completely numb. No expression on his face, like blank. Like, I'm not talking to a human. I'm not, because the human aspect of yourself, you have decided that it's too painful to be fully human. You decided that it's just too much to endure all of the variation of experience of to be human. And so you've decided to bury that little boy down in the dungeon and he can't get out. That little boy cannot speak his mind. He can't say, Daddy, why did you leave me here? Mommy, why did you leave me here? I needed support when my brother died. That was my best friend. Why did you send me to boarding school when I needed you? That little boy can't talk. So what I get is a chronological adult but he's not fully human. And I could, empath, blah, blah, blah. I don't know that I'm an empath, but I'm an intuitive woman. I could sense the little boy in there, but he couldn't get out. And so these males who are not like all the way human because they just decide it's just too painful. The real courage in life is to let that boy have a voice. That's courage. That's masculinity. That's masculine. Facing and letting that little boy out. You want to know why it's so easy for these guys to leave their kids? You want to know why it's so easy for these guys not to? Because because they haven't dealt with their own abandonment. If you haven't reconciled your own abandonment, why are you going to be committed to a child? Because it's almost like that's why they're so jealous of kids. You know what I mean? I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were talking about like when this woman got pregnant and like the guy like started spazzing out on her and like beating her and stuff. And check out I don't know which, oh man, Lexus Exodus has some content on that as well, but I don't remember which video it was, but she basically profiled where a few guys were like spazzing out on pregnant women, and like this is a part of it, that there's this jealousy and unresolved trauma within these males that causes them to spaz out when there's another child taking a woman's attention. They don't step up into this role of protecting the two of them, like, I'm going to protect the woman and the child. I'm going to provide for the woman and the child. It's almost like this perverted thing of like, but I'm your child. Are you going to abandon me like my mom did? And now you're not going to pay attention to me? It's a super toxic way of dealing with things, but it really does explain a lot. Why are there the high rates of narcissism in the Black community? And why is the rate of Black males not being involved with their children's like upbringing and parenting? Why? Um, I ask questions all the time. That's the way I unplug yourself from the matrix. I like that you're asking these questions. Yes, it is. Research it. Okay. Just seeing if there's but yeah, those have been my observations, y'all. I mean, I feel like we could do a longer breakdown on those issues because I did want to share that as a story time, just like that whole situation. Um, with that guy. I mean, he did go to therapy because it's like you keep getting the same feedback over and over and over again that you're emotionally unavailable. I don't think he's actually like interested in getting help. I just think he wants the gratification of having a woman stay with him, you know. But I don't think that he like I think that's the thing. We want them to be fully human, but a lot of times they're comfortable where they are. So I think that that is the missing piece with really understanding, like letting Dusty stay where they are, because oftentimes their behavior is distressing to you, but it's really not distressing to them. Like they're okay with it. They're okay with it. All right, y'all. Let me go. I'm about to go I'm about to go let my baby ride her scooter. I'm tired, but um, I'm gonna let her ride her scooter. So thank you for tuning in. I hope they are narcissistic by default and nurtured by nammies. I don't think they're narcissistic by default. I think that narcissism is mostly created. Divest, plain and simple. Yeah. Yeah. All right, beautiful folks. Thank y'all for tuning in. Y'all have a blessed evening, and I'll talk to you later. Peace.